Hi everyone and welcome to Minecraft, and today we're going to be showing ways to basically improve and make your base unraidable. Now let's be honest, in factions, let's be honest, no base is technically unraidable. Every base has a way to be raided. These tips and tricks will just help you, figure out how to make a good base that is hard to raid, which can be called unraidable, but there's always a way to raid a base. So let's instantly get started off. First, we have some traps, we have some tips and tricks, and what I'm going to start off with first, none of this, is where to make your base. Now, there are two types of main bases that will help you and it be an advantage in a faction server. One base will be the underground base, which is deep underground and hidden. It's a good base. It's underground. Nobody really goes underground unless they're looking for bases, but that's the only time. And it can be very slightly hard. It's hard to find them in a giant radius of the faction server. Now, or there's the sky base, way up high in the sky, usually hidden from view unless they have like a nice computer in which they can turn the render distance all the way up. Now, the thing is though, if you're playing on a faction server, there's always map borders. You never, ever want to go close to the border. If you're right next to the border, people think, oh, it's the farthest way you can possibly get. No. People go to the border and just walk along the edge for any base that might be stood there. So that's a trap. And you never want to go like close to spawn. I would say, let's say it's a 15 km like map, so 15,000 blocks or 15,000 blocks until you're out to the border. I would settle for around 12,000. You want to be a few K blocks away from the border, but you want to save at least 4/5 of the entire journey from spawn, as players spawn there, but the border is also very deadly. Now, I prefer, if I was really tryharding it and trying to really make a base nobody can raid, an underground base that's kind of like a vault where you just keep all your good stuff. But for looks and a matter of fun, base that's still good, I would prefer a sky base. Now, the good height for a sky base is around, at the most, 40 blocks from the maximum height down, and at the least 20 blocks. You want to save room for expansion, but if you're around 30 blocks, your very bottom layer is around 30 blocks down from the top. You want to be as far up as you can get, but you want room for expansion. Now, as you know, this is not 300 blocks in the air, but this is kind of like a smaller design. Now this block right here could be obsidian, just even more safeguarded, but it's not. Because if they break this basically holds the water, so people can't climb up water streams to get into your base. This just holds all the water, but if it's broken, the best the raider's doing is just making a way up. You would want it out of obsidian. That's kind of like a duh moment, as obsidian is the strongest thing you're able to be access to in vanilla. Now, if some plugin allows you to get bedrock, I would highly use that, but obsidian's the next best thing, or the best thing. And you want it caked in water. Whatever you put in here doesn't really matter as long as water's around it. There are other ways to raid a base like this, but this is one of the best ways to do it. Now, a few years ago, or a couple years ago, I have fond memories of making an obsidian base just like this. And it was the best. We had it for like a couple months, and we put a lot of stuff in it. We got so bored that we literally just started putting like mini games and parkour maps and like archer things. And you know what killed us? The number one thing that could kill you this base is a server reset. Well, like a map reset. So that's like one of the only things that killed us, and I got pissed. But that's about it. What we had inside of our base, if you want to save the obsidian instead of make this giant structure. Now again, you don't want the obsidian, you don't want a base this big. It's better for hiding, but if you want like a good enough base where you can put your stuff, you want it pretty big. So this is just kind of like a skill factor representation. What we did, instead of putting walls to save the obsidian, was actually put cactus as a defending mechanism. It works well for two things: a wall and a farm. As you could break off the bits and sell them at the shop. What we also have, which I find awesome, even though they might not work so well, is this. Don't really want to set it off, but I will anyway. I'll set it off at the end so I don't break any of that. But what it does is the dropper. I push the button, and it basically, if a raider is underneath me, I'd have these all over the walls. They would immediately have TNT dropped down here upon them. Now, before I launch it and give it off, I will just show you some traps. let's say you want to trap somebody in something, and you want to make it less obvious, and you don't want to make it out of dirt, but you're just walking by, oop, they're trapped. Wherever they walk, if they can't get out, you basically trapped them out. Now, how this works is under the pressure pad is some redstone, which just goes to walls of pistons. The better idea of this is to put doors there, or maybe somehow hide, or put tripwire hooks, if that's possible, or hide the pressure plates, and when you walk in, obviously if it's factions, you couldn't be able to open the door, so you'd be trapped. And when you try to walk out, it doesn't work. Now, this, people might be wondering what this is. If you're having an underground base or a base at all, this is one of the most underrated things ever, but works so well, it's unbelievable. What this does is it's kind of like a fake base. It's a fake up base. So your real base is miles down underneath everything, and your fake base, the base that looks to be raided, quote unquote, is on top. It looks to be raided, yet it's a fake base. You built it to look raided so people don't even go down there and check it out. Now, the final thing I will say is that the number one thing that gets bases raided in factions is actually claiming faction land. The best thing to do for your base, if you really don't want to get raided and you don't want to build up a giant base, it's kind of like a one-person thing, don't claim land. It gives your base away all the time on the map. It is the worst thing to do for your base if you want to have it not raided. Now, finally, I will set off the dropper, just give it a demonstration. Does that, falls down, blows up the raider. Anyway, guys, leave a like if you want to see more. Subscribe if you like my channel. And I've got to go, so see you all